The receipt that might end my marriage is small enough to fit between my fingers. It is thermal paper, already fading at the edges, from a hotel called the Riverside Inn. The date says October the 23rd. That is the night Daniel told me he was too exhausted to leave his room, too drained from back-to-back meetings to even order room service. But this receipt lists to bar drinks at 11:45 at night and a breakfast for the next morning at 8:30. I am standing in our bedroom, the jacket still in my other hand. Downstairs, I can hear him laughing at something on the television. Our daughter is brushing her teeth, singing that same song she learned at school. Everything sounds so normal. But I am holding proof that nothing is normal anymore. If you only saw this scene, you would say it is simple, he cheated on me. You would tell me to pack his things, call a lawyer, and move on. But 12 years of marriage does not collapse because of one piece of paper. It collapses because that paper confirms every single thing I tried to ignore for months. You are already here hearing my side, so subscribe and stay to hear his too. Because he will tell you I am paranoid, controlling, and that I see betrayal where there is only work. He will explain every charge, every late-night drink, every double breakfast. And maybe, after hearing both sides, you will believe him. But for you to understand how I ended up here, staring at proof I never wanted to find, I need to go back a little. Back to when I still believed that love and loyalty were the same thing. I met Daniel in 2011 at a bookstore in the city. I was looking for a cookbook, something simple because I had just moved into my first apartment and could barely boil pasta. He reached for the same book at the same time. And when our hands touched, he smiled and said, "You can have it." I was only pretending to cook anyway. That smile was what got me. Warm, a little crooked, like he was letting me in on a secret. We spent 2 hours in the coffee shop next door. He told me about his job in sales. How he traveled twice a month but loved coming home to his small apartment with terrible lighting and a fridge full of takeout containers. I told him about my work as a teacher, about my students who made me laugh and drove me crazy in the same breath. When he walked me to my car, he asked if he could see me again. I said yes before he even finished the question. Our first year together felt like a movie. He would surprise me with flowers on random Tuesdays, just because he saw them and thought of me. We took a road trip to the coast and got caught in a rainstorm, and instead of turning back, we danced in the parking lot of a gas station, until we were soaked through. He proposed on a hiking trail, no ring yet, just him on one knee in the mud saying, "I do not want to do life without you." We got married in 2013, small ceremony, just family and close friends. Our vows were handwritten. His said, "I promise to come home to you, always no matter how far the road takes me." I believed every word. By 2015, we bought a house in the suburbs. It needed work, but we loved the backyard and the idea of filling those empty rooms with kids someday. Daniel got promoted to regional sales manager, which meant more travel but also more money. I was proud of him. He worked so hard, stayed up late preparing presentations, took calls at all hours. I knew the job demanded a lot, but he always made time for us. Friday nights were ours. No work talk, no phones, just us and a bottle of wine and whatever terrible reality show I forced him to watch. Our daughter Lily was born in 2017. I remember the way Daniel cried when he held her for the first time, how he whispered, "I am going to be the dad who shows up." And he was, at least for a while. He rearranged his travel schedule so he could be home for her first birthday. He coached her tiny soccer team even though he knew nothing about soccer. He read her bedtime stories in funny voices that made her giggle until she hiccuped. For years, I thought we had it figured out. Marriage, parenthood, careers, all of it balanced just right. Sure, we fought sometimes. He thought I was too strict with Lily. I thought he worked too much. But we always came back to each other. We always chose us. I did not see the moment it started to change. Maybe that is the thing about betrayal. It does not announce itself. It creeps in quietly, disguised as normal life, until one day you wake up and realize the person next to you is a stranger. The first crack appeared in late 2023, though I did not recognize it as a crack back then. Daniel started coming home from trips and going straight to the shower. Not unusual, except he used to come find me first, kiss me, ask about my day. Now he walked past me like I was furniture. His phone became an extension of his hand, always face down on the table. Always with him, even when he went to the bathroom. One night, I picked it up to check the weather, and he practically lunged across the couch to grab it from me. I have work emails open, he said. I do not want you to accidentally delete something. I laughed it off. But it stuck with me. The panic in his eyes. The way his voice went up half an octave. Then there was Rebecca. He mentioned her name casually one night over dinner. Rebecca from the Chicago office is transferring to my region. We will be working together a lot more. I asked what she was like and he shrugged. Smart, good at her job, I guess. That was it. No other details. No stories about her the way he used to talk about his other co-workers. But then I started hearing her name everywhere. Rebecca thinks we should pitch this. Rebecca found a great restaurant. Rebecca is flying in for the meeting. Always Rebecca, never Jim or Tom or any of the other people on his team. I tried to bring it up one night. You talk about Rebecca a lot. He barely looked up from his laptop. Do I? I have not noticed. We work on the same accounts, so it makes sense. His tone was dismissive, like I had just said something ridiculous. A few weeks later, I noticed he started dressing differently for trips. New shirts still with tags. Cologne I did not recognize. One morning, I asked him why he was wearing cologne for a flight, and he said, I have a client meeting right after I land. I do not want to smell like airplane. Logical. Reasonable. Except he had never cared about that before. The worst part was the gaslighting. Every time I brought up something that felt off, he made me feel crazy. You are overreacting, he would say. You see problems where there are none. Or, I work hard for this family, and all you do is accuse me of things that are not happening. I started doubting myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was being paranoid because he was traveling more and I was home alone with Lily. Maybe this was just what marriage looked like after 10 years. Comfortable, distant. To people who loved each other but did not really see each other anymore. One night, I asked him if he was happy. We were in bed, lights off, both staring at the ceiling. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I am tired, Emma. Can we not do this right now? We never finished that conversation. Back then, I thought that word overreacting was just annoying. I did not know it would become the weapon he used every single time I got close to the truth. I became someone I did not recognize. Someone who checked pockets and scrolled through credit card statements at 2 in the morning. Someone who memorized his calendar and cross-referenced it with his location on the family tracking app. Someone who felt her stomach drop every time his phone buzzed. It started small. I would look through his travel receipts, the ones he left on his desk for taxes. Mostly normal. Hotels, rental cars, dinners that seemed reasonable for client meetings. But then I noticed patterns. The same hotel in Chicago over and over. The Riverside Inn. Always that one, even though his company had a deal with a different chain. I googled it. For stars.boutique.romantic. The kind of place you choose, not the kind corporate assigns you. I told myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was close to the client office. Maybe he liked the gym. Maybe I was inventing problems because I was lonely and exhausted and our marriage felt like a chore. But the feeling would not go away. It sat in my chest like a weight, pressing down every time he packed a suitcase, every time he kissed me goodbye with that distracted look in his eyes. One night I broke. He was in the shower, and his phone was on the nightstand. I knew his passcode. He had never changed it. It was Lily's birthday. I picked it up, hands shaking, and opened his messages. Nothing. Everything was deleted. Work emails clean. Social media barely used. It was too clean. People do not delete everything unless they are hiding something. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and went downstairs. I could not breathe. My hands were trembling. I poured a glass of water and stood at the sink, staring out at the dark backyard, wondering who I had become. The obsession got worse. I started following him, not physically but digitally. I checked the app to see where he was. I looked up restaurants he expensed. I even called one hotel pretending to be his assistant, asking if they had his preferred room available for his next stay. They did, room to 14. He had stayed there 6 times in the past for months. I stopped sleeping. I would lie awake next to him, listening to him breathe, wondering if he was dreaming about her. Whoever she was. I lost weight. My friends noticed, asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was trying a new diet. Lily asked why I was always so sad. I lied and said I was just tired. The worst part was not knowing. If I had proof, I could confront him, leave him, start over. but all I had were pieces that did not quite fit together. A cologne bottle. A pattern of hotel stays. A name he said too often. Deleted messages. A feeling in my gut that screams something is wrong. I even followed him once. He said he was meeting a client for coffee on a Saturday, which seemed strange, but he insisted it was a last-minute thing. I drove to the cafe and parked across the street. I watched him sit alone for 20 minutes, scrolling his phone, drinking an espresso. No client. Just him. When he came home, I asked how the meeting went. He said fine. Quick. He just needed to sign off on the contract. Who was he meeting that he lied about? Or was he waiting for someone who never showed? I did not know. And not knowing was killing me. I started snapping at Lily over little things. Spilled juice. Forgotten homework. I hated myself for it. She was 7 years old, and I was taking my fear and anger out on her because I could not face the truth. One night, my best friend Carla came over. She took one look at me and said, "Emma, what is going on?" I almost told her everything. But instead I said, "I think I am going crazy." She hugged me and said, "You are not crazy. You are scared. And that is different." But I felt crazy. I felt like I was losing my mind, piece by piece, chasing shadows and building cases out of coincidences. I thought the worst thing that could happen was discovering nothing. I was wrong. The worst was still waiting in a folded piece of paper I had not touched yet. It was a Thursday in late October. Daniel had been gone for 3 days, Chicago again, same hotel. He texted me every night, short messages. Long day. Going to bed early. Love you. I did not respond most of the time. What was the point? He came home around 6 in the evening. Lily ran to the door screaming, "Daddy." And he scooped her up, swung her around, kissed her forehead. He looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes, hair a little messy. He smiled at me over her shoulder and said, "Hey babe." I nodded. "How was the trip?" "Exhausting. I barely left the hotel room except for meetings." That phrase, "barely left the hotel room," I had heard it so many times. It was his go-to line, too tired to explore the city. Too busy to do anything but work. And every time, I wanted to believe him. He played with Lily for a while, built a tower out of blocks, pretended to be a dragon while she was a knight. I made dinner, pasta with marinara, nothing fancy. We ate together, the three of us, and for a moment it almost felt normal. Like we were still a family. Like he still loved me. After dinner, he said he needed to unpack and do some laundry. I told him I would handle it. I always handled the laundry. It was one of those tasks that fell to me without discussion, like packing school lunches or remembering dentist appointments. I took his suitcase upstairs and started sorting clothes. Dirty shirts in one pile, pants in another. His suit jacket was wrinkled, so I pulled it out to hang it up. That is when I felt it. A crumple in the inner pocket. Small, easy to miss. I reached in and pulled out 3 receipts, folded together. The first one, the Riverside Inn, room to 14. 2 nights, October 21st to October 23rd. Total, $347. The second one, bar charge from the Riverside Inn. 2 glasses of wine and a whiskey sour. October 22nd, 11:45 at night. $28.60. The third one, breakfast charge from the Riverside Inn. 2 entrees, 2 coffees, 1 orange juice. October 23rd, 8:30 in the morning. $34.15. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the receipts. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped them. October 22nd. That was the night he texted me, "Long day. Go into bed early." But he was not in bed. He was at the bar, drinking wine with someone. And the next morning, he had breakfast with that same someone. 2 entrees. 2 coffees. 1 orange juice. I could hear him downstairs, laughing at something Lily said. I could hear the television, some cartoon she loved. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and fast, pounding in my ears. I did not cry. I did not scream. I folded the receipts back up and put them in my pocket. Then I went downstairs, kissed Lily goodnight, and waited. Daniel came to bed around 10. He was scrolling his phone, half paying attention to me. I waited until he put it down. Then I pulled out the receipts and set them on his chest. "What is this?" I said. My voice was calm. To calm. He looked down and I saw it. The flash of panic, the quick calculation in his eyes. Then the mask. Smooth, practiced. "Receipts from my trip," he said. "Why?" "2 drinks at almost midnight." Breakfast for two. You told me you went to bed early and barely left your room. He sat up, handed the receipts back to me like they were nothing. Emma, those charges are not what you think. Then what are they? The drinks were with a colleague. We were going over the presentation for the next day, and the breakfast was with the same colleague and a client. The client did not order juice, so it is listed as 2 entrees and 1 juice. It is a billing thing. Which colleague? He hesitated. Just for a second. But I saw it, Rebecca. And before you spiral, it was completely professional. We were working. At midnight, yes. At midnight. Because the presentation was at 8 in the morning, and we were not ready. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to, but everything in my body was screaming liar. Why did you delete all your messages? I did not delete anything. I just do not keep old messages. It clutters my phone. You keep everything. You still have texts from 2 years ago about Lily's school play. Emma, you are doing it again. You are seeing things that are not there, am I? Because I have been seeing things for months, Daniel. The same hotel. The same city. The same person. Rebecca this, Rebecca that. You dress different now. You smell different. You barely look at me anymore. And now I find proof that you lied to me, and you are telling me I am crazy? He stood up, ran his hand through his hair. I am not calling you crazy. I am saying you are reading into something that has a simple explanation. Then show me your phone, no. Why not? Because I do not need to prove myself to you every time you get paranoid. That word, paranoid. There it was again. I stood up too, faced him. If it is so innocent, show me. Show me the messages with Rebecca. Show me the work emails. Show me that I am wrong. I am not doing this, Emma. I am not letting you turn our marriage into an interrogation every time I go on a business trip. You are lying to me. I am not. Then why are you so defensive? Because you are accusing me of cheating when I have done nothing wrong. His voice was loud now. Loud enough that I worried Lily might hear. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. You had drinks with her at midnight, breakfast with her in the morning. In a hotel room. And you did not think to mention it. It was work, Emma. That is what colleagues do. They work together. They have meals together. It does not mean anything. I looked at him, really looked at him. The man I married. The man who promised to come home to me always. And I did not recognize him anymore. I do not believe you, I said. He stared at me for a long time. Then he grabbed his pillow and walked out of the room. That night, I lay in our bed alone, holding the receipts, and I knew he was lying. I knew there was more. I knew this was not the first time, and it would not be the last. That is my side. With everything I lived and everything I found, this is cheating. But he does not tell this story in the same way.
I am on the couch in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how a marriage ends over 3 pieces of paper. Emma is upstairs, probably awake, probably holding those receipts like they are a murder weapon. Maybe to her, they are. She thinks she caught me. She thinks those receipts prove everything she has been imagining for months. 2 drinks, breakfast for 2, room 214 at the Riverside Inn. In her mind, it is simple math. Hotel plus coworker plus midnight equals affair. But nothing about this is simple. When she put those receipts on my chest tonight, I saw it in her eyes. She had already decided I was guilty. It did not matter what I said. She was not looking for the truth. She was looking for confirmation of the story she had been writing in her head since I do not even know when. I tried to explain. The drinks were work. The breakfast was work. Rebecca and I were preparing a presentation that could have made or broken a 6-figure deal. But Emma does not hear Rebecca anymore without hearing the other woman. I could tell her Rebecca is married with 2 kids, that we have never touched beyond a handshake, and it would not matter. She has already cast her in the role. The worst part is not that she does not believe me. The worst part is that I understand why. Because she is not completely wrong, just not right in the way she thinks. If you only listen to her, I am the perfect villain, the traveling husband, the secret phone, the late-night drinks, the deleted messages. I know how it looks. I know what story those details tell. But stories have context, and context has 2 sides. Let me tell you how it started from my side. Not the version Emma believes. The version I lived. I met Emma in 2011 in a bookstore. I was pretending to look at a cookbook because I saw her from across the aisle and thought she was beautiful. When our hands touched on the same book, I made a joke to cover my nerves. She laughed. That laugh is what got me. Real, unguarded, like she was not trying to impress anyone. We spent hours talking in the coffee shop next door. She told me about her students, the funny things they said, the way teaching made her feel like she was doing something that mattered. I told her about my job, which felt small compared to hers. But she listened like it was the most interesting thing in the world. When I walked her to her car, I knew I wanted to see her again. I knew I wanted to keep making her laugh. Our first years together were the best years of my life. I loved the way she danced in the kitchen while cooking. I loved the way she read books, with sticky notes hanging out of every chapter. I loved that she believed in me, even when I was just a mid-level sales guy with big dreams and no clear path. When I proposed on that hiking trail, I meant every word. I wanted to build a life with her. I wanted to be the man she thought I was. We got married in 2013. Small ceremony, just us and the people we loved most. I remember standing at the front, watching her walk down the aisle, thinking I was the luckiest man alive. My vows said I would always come home to her. I believed that. I really did. The first few years of marriage were good. We bought the house, fixed it up together, painted rooms in colors we argued about, and then loved. I got promoted to regional sales manager in 2015, and Emma was so proud, she threw me a surprise dinner, invited my parents, made a toast about how hard I worked and how much I deserved it. But the promotion changed things. More travel, more pressure, more time away. I tried to balance it. Primera rea, lai did. But the job demanded more and more. And I started to feel like I was failing at both. Failing at work because I was not there enough. Failing at home because when I was there, I was too tired to be present. When Lily was born in 2017, I thought it would bring us closer. And it did for a while. But it also made everything harder. Emma became a mother, and I became Ido not Noe. A guest in my own house, she poured everything into Lily, which I understood. Lily needed her, but I needed her too, and I did not know how to say that without sounding selfish. I started noticing the distance in 2022. Small things. She stopped asking about my trips. She stopped laughing at my jokes. When I came home, she barely looked up from whatever she was doing with Lily. I felt like a paycheck with legs, a man who showed up, provided, and stayed out of the way. I tried to talk to her about it once. I said, "Do you even miss me when I am gone?" She said, "Of course I do." But she did not look at me when she said it. She was folding laundry, matching tiny socks, her mind a million miles away. I told myself it was just a phase. Marriage has phases. We would come out the other side. But the distance kept growing. She stopped touching me. Not just sex, though that dried up too. I mean casual touch. A hand on my shoulder. A kiss that was not just routine. I felt invisible. I started staying later at the office, taking longer trips, volunteering for projects I did not need to volunteer for. Because at work, I mattered. People listened to me. People valued my opinion. At home, I was just the guy who forgot to pick up milk. And then I met Rebecca. I did not wake up one morning wanting someone else. I only realized how empty I was when a different person started to pay attention. Rebecca Winters joined my team in early 2023. She transferred from the Chicago office, sharp, efficient, the kind of person who made everyone around her work harder just to keep up. Our first meeting was about a client account that was falling apart, and she came in with a full plan, slides prepared, solutions I had not even thought of. I remember thinking, finally, someone who gets it. We started working together more. Emails about strategy, calls about pitches. She had this way of making work feel less like a grind and more like a challenge worth taking on. We would joke about bad clients, swap stories about terrible hotel coffee, complain about corporate politics. It was easy, comfortable. I did not think about her outside of work. Not at first, But then we got assigned to the same conference in April. 3 days in Chicago. Same hotel, same schedule, same keynote speeches that were so boring we started texting each other jokes from across the room. After the first day, a group of us went to the hotel bar. By midnight, it was just me and Rebecca. Everyone else had gone to bed. We talked for 2 hours. Not about work, about real things. She told me about her divorce, how her ex-husband made her feel small, how she spent 2 years rebuilding herself. I told her about Emma, how I felt like we were roommates instead of partners, how I could not remember the last time she looked at me like I mattered. Rebecca did not judge. She did not offer advice. She just listened, and God, it felt good to be heard. Nothing happened that night. We finished our drinks, said goodnight, went to our separate rooms, but something shifted. I started looking forward to her emails. I started texting her things that had nothing to do with work. Funny signs I saw on the road. Songs I thought she would like. She texted back. Always, by summer, we were talking every day. Morning coffee texts, late night recaps of bad client meetings. I told myself it was just friendship. Harmless, but I started dressing better for trips where I knew I would see her. I started wearing cologne. I started thinking about her when I should have been thinking about other things. The first time we crossed a line, it was not even physical. It was emotional. We were in a cab heading back from a client dinner in July, and she put her hand on my arm and said, "You know, you deserve to be happy, right?" The way she looked at me when she said it, like she saw me. Not the sales manager, not the tired husband. Me. I did not pull my hand away. August was when it happened. Another conference. Same city, same hotel. Room 214. I had stayed there before, asked for it specifically because it had a good desk and decent Wi-Fi. We had a presentation the next morning. 8 o'clock sharp, for a client worth $500,000 in annual revenue. Rebecca and I worked on it until almost 10 at night, but we were not happy with it. We decided to take a break. Go to bar, clear our heads. 2 glasses of wine for her. A whiskey sour for me. We talked about everything except the presentation. She told me I looked tired. I told her I was tired of pretending my marriage was fine. Tired of being ignored. Tired of feeling like I was disappointing everyone, no matter what I did. She leaned in closer. "You are not disappointing me." I should have left. I should have said goodnight, gone to my room, called Emma, remembered my vows. But I did not. I leaned in too. We kissed in the elevator. We did not talk about it. We just did. And when the doors opened on my floor, she followed me. I am not going to describe what happened in that room. It does not matter. What matters is that I made a choice. I chose her over Emma. I chose feeling wanted over doing the right thing. I chose myself. The next morning, we had breakfast together. 2 entrees, 2 coffees, 1 orange juice. She ordered the juice. We did not talk about the night before. We talked about the presentation, about the client, about the weather, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I told myself it would never happen again. I told myself it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, something I could bury and forget. But 2 weeks later, I coordinated my Chicago trip to match hers. Same hotel, same room, same mistake. It was not love. I need you to understand that. I did not fall for Rebecca. I fell for the version of myself I got to be around her. The version who was interesting, desired, seen. I told myself it would never happen again. But the truth is, once you open that door, you cannot pretend the house is still the same. Emma found our real. I am not going to lie about that. Room 214. The bar charges, the breakfast, all of it happened exactly the way the paper says it did. But the story those receipts tell is not the whole truth. The hotel charges. Yes, I stayed at the Riverside in 6 times between June and October, but it was not because I was having some grand affair. It was because that hotel had reliable Wi-Fi, a gym that was actually open, and a location 15 minutes from the client office. I asked for the same room because I am a creature of habit. I like knowing where the outlets are. I like having a routine when everything else about travel is chaotic. The drinks at midnight on October 22nd, that was real too. Rebecca and I were at the bar working on a presentation that had to be perfect. The client we were pitching the next morning represented 6 months of work and more revenue than I had brought in all year. We were stressed, underprepared, and trying to salvage a pitch that was falling apart. Were we drinking? Yes. Were we flirting? Maybe. Maybe. I do not know anymore. The line between professional and personal had gotten so blurred by then that I could not tell where one ended and the other began. But here is what Emma does not know. That night, after the drinks, I went back to my room alone. Rebecca went to hers. We did not sleep together that night. We worked, we talked, we drank, and we went our separate ways. The breakfast the next morning was exactly what I told Emma it was. Me, Rebecca, and the client, 3 people. 3 people. The client did not order juice. That is why it shows up as 2 entrees and 1 juice. It is a billing error, not proof of an affair. Except I am leaving something out, and I know Emma can feel it. She has always been able to tell when I am holding back. The truth is, Rebecca and I did sleep together, just not that night. It happened in August. Twice, maybe 3 times, depending on how you count it. It was not planned. It was not an affair in the traditional sense. There were no love letters, no plans to leave our spouses, no secret life. It was physical. It was a release. It was me trying to feel something other than numb. I deleted my messages because I did not want Emma to see how much I talked to Rebecca. Not because the messages were sexual or romantic. Most of them were not. But the sheer volume would have looked bad. Hundreds of texts. Daily inside jokes. If Emma saw that, she would have known I was giving Rebecca the attention I should have been giving her. The cologne, the new shirts, the way I dressed for trips. That was not for Rebecca. Or maybe it was, you do not know. I think it was for me. I wanted to feel like someone other than the guy who came home exhausted and disappeared into his phone. I wanted to feel like I still had something to offer. Emma thinks I cheated on her and then lied about it. She is half right, primera, deadly, but not in the way she thinks. I lied about how dead our marriage was. I lied about how lonely I was. I lied about the fact that I had already checked out emotionally long before I touched another woman. She thinks the receipts are the proof, but the receipts are just the evidence of the symptom. The real problem started years before Rebecca. It started when Emma stopped seeing me as a partner and started seeing me as a problem to manage. It started when I stopped being Daniel and became Lily's dad, or the guy who travels, or the one who forgot to take out the trash again. I am not saying the affair was justified. I am not saying Emma drove me to it. I made my choices. I own that, but she made choices too. She chose to stop trying. She chose to put all her energy into Lily and leave nothing for me. She chose to accuse instead of ask, to assume instead of trust. The night she found the receipts, I could have told her everything. I could have admitted to August. I could have said, yes, I slept with Rebecca, and I am sorry, and I do not know how to fix this. But I did not, because I knew that if I admitted it, it would be over. And despite everything, despite the distance and the resentment and the emptiness, I was not ready for it to be over. So I lied. I minimized. I made her feel crazy for asking the right questions, and I hate myself for it. She calls it cheating. I call it the consequence of a marriage that was already broken. Yo decide.
6 months after the receipts, Emma and Daniel are separated. Not divorced, not yet. They are living in the gray space between marriage and its ending, a space with no clear rules and no easy answers. Emma lives in the house with Lily. She repainted the bedroom, a soft gray that does not hold memories the way the old blue did. She goes to therapy every Thursday at 4 in the afternoon. Her therapist asks her questions she does not want to answer, like, "What do you miss about him?" And, "What did you stop giving long before he stopped trying?" She still checks her phone sometimes, expecting a text from him, an apology, an explanation, Anything that would make the betrayal feel less like betrayal and more like something they could survive. But the texts that come are logistics, drop-off times, insurance paperwork, Lily's school schedule. She started dating again in April, a man named Keith, kind and steady, who teaches history at the high school 2 towns over. He does not travel. He does not delete his messages. He looks at her like she matters. But when he kisses her, she feels nothing. She wonders if Daniel broke something in her that cannot be fixed, or if she broke it herself years ago. Daniel lives in a 1-bedroom apartment downtown. He has Lily every other weekend, and those weekends are the only time the apartment feels like a home. He cooks her favorite meals, takes her to the park, reads her bedtime stories in the funny voices she loves. When she is not there, the place is silent. He works late. He goes to the gym. He does not talk to Rebecca anymore. She transferred back to Chicago in January. They never discussed what happened. They just stopped. He thinks about Emma every day. He wonders if he could have saved the marriage if he had been honest that night, if he had said, "Yes, I messed up and I am sorry and I do not know how we got here, but I want to find our way back." But he did not, and now it is too late. Or maybe it is not. He does not know. He keeps the receipts in his wallet. He does not know why. A reminder, maybe, of the moment everything came apart, or the moment it was already apart, and he just finally had to face it. Lily asks questions neither of them know how to answer. Why do you not live together anymore? Emma says, sometimes grown-ups need space. Daniel says, we both love you, and that is not going to change. Lily nods, but her eyes are sad. She is 8 now, old enough to know that something is broken, too young to understand that broken things do not always get fixed. Emma found texts on Daniel's old phone last month, messages he thought he had deleted. Nothing sexual, just daily conversations with Rebecca, morning greetings, goodnight texts, jokes about coworkers, the kind of intimacy that should have belonged to a wife. She did not confront him. What would be the point? But she kept screenshots, evidence of something she cannot quite name. Daniel found a card Emma wrote him 3 years ago, tucked in a box in the garage. It said, "Thank you for being my partner, my best friend, my home. I love you more every year." He sat in his car and cried. Neither of them knows who to blame. Both of them know it is not that simple. In the end, the receipts were real, the distance was real, and so were the lies. The affair happened. The marriage was already dying. Both things are true. After hearing her side and his side, who do you believe is closer to the truth? Was this clear cheating, a gray area, or a marriage that was already dead long before the proof showed up? Did he betray her? Or did they betray each other in different ways over years of slow disconnection? Tell me in the comments, her side, his side, or no one is clean. If you like long, messy marriage stories where the truth does not fit in a single version, subscribe, leave a like, and share this with someone who loves hard questions about love and betrayal. Because sometimes the hardest part is not finding proof. It is deciding what the proof really means.